Okay, now we got ones that are landing on the unit circle here. Okay, because I know 270 is not going to be in any quadrants. 270 is going to be, I'll show you, it's going to be right here. Okay, that's 270 from there all the way around. Because there's 90, there's 180, there's 270 right there. So when it lands on these X and Y axis, you have to remember this 100 drill. 100. And again, write it out. And the more times you write it out, you'll have it memorized. Negative 100. O1 undefined. And O negative 1 undefined. Okay? Now remember, it's alphabetical order. C, S, T. Okay? I was going to skip down to this one because this is where my answer is. C, S, T. Okay. So I know my answer lies down in this guy right here. That's where 270 is, right? So my answers. Okay, so if I'm doing sine, so there's the S, above the S is negative 1. So there's the answer. Now, the cosecant is the flip of that, so that's 1 over 1, 1 over negative 1, which is still that. Okay? Now, when we have this guy, cos, it's 0. Now when we do the secant, it's 1 over 0, right? This one is really 1 over that answer, right? Which we just know it as negative 1. So now this is 1 over that answer. Now in math, 1 over 0, you can't divide by 0. We call that undefined. Okay? Now when we do tan, tan is, if you look over here, tan is undefined. All right. Cot is 1 over that, so it's 1 over undefined, and that equals 0. Okay. So on these questions, when we have to approximate now, that means we're using our calculator because it's saying to 4 decimal places. So we're going to use our calculator to calculate those answers. All right. So you would just get your calculator out. Make sure you're in degrees mode, and you're just going to go cos. All right, type in 260. And then push equals, and you should get an answer when you round it to 4 decimal places. 1736. Okay? So that's pretty easy. You're just typing into your calculator. Now this one here is a little trickier because we don't have a cosecant button on our calculator. Now this is when we use our 1 over business, the 1 over sign. Okay? Now we know 1 over sine, and then our sign in this question is negative 70, and then we hit enter or equal sign, and out should come out negative 1.0642. So that's the 4 decimal places. All right, the next thing is we're going to be given the ratio, and now we have to find the angle, because we're going to try and find the angle now. Okay, so how do we find the angle? So going back to grade 10, I hope you remember, this is the second button. All right, so you can hit the second button to get that. So you're going to type in second sine, because it's a sine function. And you should see that little -1 pop up, hopefully. And now you hit 0.879, and out pops, is it 61.5 degrees. Okay, now we need to find it between this. Okay, so once we got our reference angle, we know we can plot this. We're doing a sine question, and it's positive. So sine positive is here, and sine positive is here. How do I know that? Well, we should know the CAS rule tells us that. Add sugar to coffee. Okay, so all things are positive and sine's positive, and that's what I have as a sine. That's a positive ratio. So I know when it's in this quadrant, the answer is itself. Okay, so there's one answer. And in quadrant 2 is 180. Subtract 61.5. And what does that get us? I need to get my calculator out. So we go 180 subtract 61.5, and our answer is 118. 118.5. Okay, so those are our two answers for that first question. Okay, let's do the next question. Okay, again, we've got something different. We don't have a secant button on our calculator. So I'm going to turn this into a fraction by putting over 1, because I can turn a secant into a cos by flipping this. So I'm just going to go now to cos, okay, of theta equals 1 over 1.245, okay? Now I use my calculator and do the same steps as we did up here. So I'm going to push second cos 1 divided by 1.245, and hopefully you guys got 36.6 degrees. Okay. Now we have to do this domain. Okay, this is a different domain. So watch this. Let's just draw our x and y axis. Now this is not a normal one. This is one where it's sort of shifting around. Okay, when it says, I call this the S, where you start at. We start at here. And now we're going to 180. So basically you're going from here to negative 180. Okay? That's this first part. Okay, now I'll get a different color, and let's do this one green. This one is going from the start to positive 180. Okay, so basically I have to draw this 36 where, let's get a different color now. Let's go to black. This question says, well, we have a cos and it's a positive. So cos positive is this quadrant and this quadrant. Okay, so these ones we're not using. That's cos negative. So if I draw my reference angle in those pockets right here, that one right there, that is 36.6. How far is it there to there? Well, it is 36.6, okay? Now, the other one, how far is it from there to there, that reference angle? Well, it is still 36.6. But we're going backwards. See, this red line is going backwards to that arm. So that means if it's going backwards, or going clockwise, it's negative 36.6 degrees. Okay? Put little degrees up there. And my two answers are right there. Okay? Okay, finding the ratios where we're given this point. So the first thing is you want to plot the point. It's 3 over and it's 5 up. Okay, so it's somewhere right about there. Okay. So that is 3, 5. So let's make this into a nice triangle. So 3 is your x, okay, that's your coordinate. 5 is your y. Then we do our Pythagoras, 3 squared plus 5 squared. So that's 3 squared plus 5 squared, which gets us 9 plus 25, which is 34, and then we square root it at the end. And Pythagoras is always square root. So it's a square root of 34. Okay? Now once you got your picture developed, now it's time to answer these questions. So I'll just do the first couple and the rest are pretty straightforward. So if we do sine, well, sine is the opposite, which is 5 over root 34. And if I did the cosecant, it's going to be the flip, which is root 34 over 5. Now I'll just mention, because just see that radical sign there, you always want to check with radicals. You want to check for rationalizing. So just make sure you check rationalize, okay? All right, and I know that one doesn't rationalize, okay? But sometimes they may. So just make sure you check the rationalize.